What we have here is a 2002 Lexus GS300. This is the Mark II or Phase 2 version. Now this car is 23 years old. Yeah, that's right, 23 years old. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video about this car is because many years ago I actually did a review of one of these cars. I'll add the link in the description and the comments. Now, I've owned this car for 5 or 6 years. I bought it very, very cheaply. I just use it as a daily runner to go back and forth to the supermarket and to do some trips away sometimes. Now, this has been, without shadow of doubt, the most reliable second-hand car I have ever bought in my life, right? And I've been driving now some 37 years. Now, in the United States, these cars have a cult following. They have a cult following because basically they're sleepers. They have the legendary 2JZ or 2JZ, depending on what side of the pond you're on. And if you stick a turbo on these babes and get the ECU remapped, you end up with basically a road rocket, because the engine is very similar to the Toyota Supra, except there's some more heavy-duty machinery inside, as in with the pistons and com rods, etc., etc. Yeah, in the UK, people don't have any interest in them whatsoever. I think partly because they don't realise what lays underneath the bonnet. That super over-engineered, beautiful straight six engine. And another thing I've noticed is you tend to get rust under the rear, just in front of the wheels. Now, there's two reasons for this. One is because people tend to jack it there, and they shouldn't be doing that. It's not a jack point. And two, in the wheel arch of the rear wheels, there's a plastic cover, and it accumulates dirt in there, soil, mud, whatever, and you end up getting water in there, and over time it rusts. Once you get the rust penetrating through the metal, it then sits inside and rusts from the inside out. So watch out for that, because that is actually quite a tricky fix in some cases. Apart from that, these cars have been fantastic. Now, the problems I've had with this car have been very, very small. The first problem I have is the fact that it's got the, I think, polycarbonate plastic headlights, because these are probably the original ones. Doesn't matter how well I get them shined up or restored, they just never come right. So really, if you have one of these, you probably want to look at getting some LEDs on there, because they look the dog's bollocks as well. Another thing you want to watch out for with these cars is the front ball joints. If they get really, really bad, the knuckle can actually separate and the car can collapse. I've had that, and it's not a nice experience. Luckily, it happened to me on a speed bump. Now, if you do come to change the ball joints on these cars, please don't waste your time buying these aftermarket ones unless it's a very good make. I made a mistake of buying some off eBay, and when I came to torque the nut on the ball joint, it was at 162 Newton meters, I think. The actual bolt wouldn't even take that. The nut threaded because it was just such inferior quality. And I had to go buy the Lexus parts, which weren't that dear, which is quite unusual, because the Lexus parts, even for this car, are very expensive. And I quite happily torqued that to 160 Newton meters. So you really want to watch out for that. I've used this for 5 or 6 years. I've had some nice trips on it. It starts every single day. I chuck about 200 or 300 pounds at it a year, and I've had no problems with it whatsoever. It is a little bit thirsty, I can tell you that now, and I would like to probably get it remapped, because I think it could do with a bit more poke. It certainly needs it. But I think this one's done 136,000 miles now. It starts every day. And I think if you're going to mess around with a car of this age, you're probably better off getting two. One you can cannibalize for parts, because even though this car is, you know, well in its 23rd year now, the Lexus parts are really quite expensive. I mean, some of them are silly money. I mean, things like your stabilizer links, they cost way too much money. So if you've got one of these, you're really going to have to be very selective about car parts. Try to get the Lexus ones, and if you can't, then be very selective about which aftermarket ones you get. And I would stay away from ball joints and important parts like that on eBay, because there's too many people selling a load of bollocks on there, and they shouldn't really be allowed to do that, because it's dangerous. The engine on this is so beautiful. It can't beat a straight six, even with the BMWs. I love the straight six engines. They did do a V8 version of this. I think there might be the 4 litre and 4.3. Now, since I've had this car, because they weren't popular in England, I think in 5 or 6 years I've seen 3, which is quite remarkable when you think about it. But the engine is fantastic. The engine is beautiful. The only thing I've got to do to the engine now is change some struts for the bonnet. I've done the cam belt. That was about 20,000 miles ago. Changed the pulley, changed the fan belt, and that really is about it. It just purrs along lovely. Such a wonderful car to drive. The interior is super comfortable. Look, it's so dated now, and then you look at this and you think, my God, it's done all these miles and it's still looking pretty damn good. So, as I say, in the UK, people have no interest in these cars whatsoever. They're the most underrated Lexus cars in this country, and they are so bloody rare now. But if you get one of these, get a couple of turbos on it, get it remapped, put some LEDs on it, maybe a spoiler on the back, you know, like a discreet one. I think these are going to be future classics. If you'd like me to make some more videos about this car, please leave your comments below. And as I say, the link to the original video I did many years ago is in the description and the comments. And I think I probably got it right all those years ago. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.